I don't care where I am.
Hey, hello. I got that recorded, Pete, I think. I don't care where I am.
Perfect.
All right,
Perfect.
so welcome to the Elder Nerds podcast, episode 5. Holy shit, 5 episodes.
Wow.
I didn't think we'd be going this long, honestly.
Great.
So, Gary Esposito with Pete Hernandez and Patrick Craig. And it's Friday, March 3rd. And I'm just opening up my beer. And,
You're opening beer and I'm pouring more wine. Yay!
Woohoo! USA. So, all right, March 3rd, 2017. We're going to discuss a couple of topics, but first, right off the bat, we all went to see the Logan movie last night. And Pete, what'd you think of it? No spoilers. I'll probably put this up Saturday or Sunday morning, you know?
Right. No spoilers. Well, Logan was amazing. We finally got the Wolverine movie that we thought we were going to get 15 years ago. You know, or maybe 10 years ago, whenever the first Wolverine solo movie came out.
Exactly.
I don't want to interrupt, but Pete, everybody says that. I said this to Gary last night. I said, Wolverine has never been rated R. He's always been a PG-13 guy in a PG world.
In the films. In the comics,
that's what I mean. You never had that bloody business like last night.
That's not true, because when Frank Miller did the Wolverine 4-issue miniseries, he really pushed the boundaries of the comics for authority.
He was chopping up hand guys who turned into smoke.
Well, the Weapon X origin too was bloody. The Weapon X origin.
When he kills the Oyabun at the end, they couldn't show blood at that time, but the way Miller got around the fact that Wolverine stabbed the guy in the face with his claws was they showed a close-up of his eyes with the blood being reflected in his eyes, so his eyes were colored red.
Right, but I mean, didn't he put a sword through the guy? He hugged him and put a sword through the guy.
I think the guy did that. No, I believe the Silver Samurai did that to Wolverine at some point.
Yeah, well, everybody stabbed Wolverine at some point.
Yeah, but he was always a violent character.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. That's why I'm saying he's a 13 guy in a PG world.
But I
remember that great breakout issue during the Dark Phoenix saga when he's in the sewer from the Hellfire Club sewer, and he comes back and just starts wasting people.
Yeah.
And they put the panel, kind of coated it in red to see him, take those guys out.
Right. So
but even then, it wasn't like.
But even then, he was slaughtering guys. They just had.
Yeah, I'm saying he was killing, but they couldn't show it. That's what I'm saying.
But the indication was this is what Wolverine does. He's a fucking guy who can heal and has claws. He's not slapping people with them. He's gutting them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But they never showed it. Not like last night. I've never read.
That's because they could. That's because they couldn't. It doesn't mean they didn't want.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying everybody, like you said, this is finally the Wolverine movie we expected. But I mean,
in the movies, this is what we finally expected. Because in those X-Men movies, he never really went to town.
Departure for the character.
What was that? Sorry.
I thought it was a huge departure for a character. Successfully mind-by you, but still,
Cinematically, it's a departure, but thematically from the source material, that is the way Wolverine should have been from the start. They just couldn't do it because they wanted a PG-13 rating, so that way you can get a larger audience coming into the theaters and make more money.
Exactly. And I think the Deadpool
in the comics anyway. Even that. Well, I read that the Frank Miller one. I wouldn't give that an R rating.
Whenever Wolverine was in Daredevil, they were always slaughtering ninjas and things like that. It was just they had to find.
Turned to smoke.
No, well, there were a couple of issues where there was one issue where it was done in silhouette, but Wolverine and Daredevil are fighting ninjas, and Wolverine is slicing them, and Frank Miller managed to draw the guy's dick and balls flying through the air.
Oh wow! I don't
remember Frank Miller doing a Daredevil plus Wolverine story.
If it wasn't Frank Miller, he either wrote it or somebody drew it. But I'm picturing the image in my head right now. I just don't know what issue it was.
But I mean,
he may have written it.
But I mean, they always showed Wolverine as hyper violent, especially against ninjas, not against anyone in the Marvel universe who was established, but against all the faceless ninjas. and faceless gangsters, the Yakuza. They always showed him as hyper-violent. And then, in the comic books, he was supposed to be, when he first appeared, he was supposed to be, not the normal superhero with morals and a code. He was always hyper-violent in that sense. That he was
a beast. He was a wild man. The berserker rage was what everybody loved about him.
But like Pete said, we never saw that in the movie because of the PG-13 rating.
Right.
But now once Deadpool
in the comics either.
What?
I don't think you saw that in the comics either.
Oh, I think so too. In the Wolverine solo book, I think you saw
I read
it.
the Wolverine when they first started his comic, and he was very violent, but it was never graphic like this.
But that's because they couldn't do it.
Yeah, don't forget comics. Don't forget comics had a code too, Patrick.
They did a max.
There was you keep forgetting the Comics Code of Authority, much like the MPAA. There was a rating system.
I'm saying he was never like this. It's a PG world. Marvel Comics was a PG world.
Not with Wolverine.
PG-13 was as bad as he got.
Wolverine was always. He was an R-rated character forced into a PG-13 universe. I'll probably go so far as to say that.
Punisher was worse than him. Punisher got a Punisher Max series, and Cage got a Max series. Wolverine never got a Max series. Now, why is that?
Because he was tied into so many other mainstream comics.
Yeah, but
Punisher wasn't. I mean, Punisher's origin from the get is brutally violent. I mean, so was Wolverine's, but Wolverine was part of all those. He would pop into the Avengers, and he would show up with the Fantastic Four, and he hung out with Spider-Man, and he
was part of a team. And he was part of the X-Men, the biggest selling book.
By the way, somebody pointed that out in one of the books and said something like, "This is what a numbers breakdown looks like."
In regards to what?
That was very good. Wolverine. Wolverine showed up all of a sudden he's in the X-Men, and they're having this massive brawl and adventure that takes days, and he's teaming up with Spider-Man, and he was in the new Avengers.
Yeah, there's an issue of
thing, and it's like, okay, what's the timeline in that this month? Wolverine was in 7 different stories. What's the timeline in that?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember who wrote it, but they said, they kind of did it in a few panels, like they did
I know
panels where, right.
I know. There's an issue of Wolverine where every let's say there's 7 panels on a page. Every panel is a different day of the week, and it shows Wolverine fighting alongside a different set of Marvel characters.
And that was brilliant.
And then that's one of the best episodes or issues I think they've ever done, because it makes fun of, yet kind of pays tribute to the fact that Wolverine is constantly at war. And then at the end,
Wolverine's constantly one of Marvel's most popular characters.
Right. He's milked to death. And then at the end, it shows. Kind of think of it. It was let's say it was 6 panels, and panels 1 through 6 are him fighting with this person, that person, the other person, and then panel 7 is him at a bar drinking. Yeah. And then it was like that through the whole issue. So it was this is why he's always fucking drinking, because he's just exhausted from combat. And then I think he's talking to Yukio. I think he's talking to Yukio in a bar or something like that, and she says something along the lines of, when she first met him, she idolized him and thought she wanted to be him, and then as she got to know him, she just felt sad for him and realized that wasn't the life she would ever want. He's just a constant warrior. And this,
10 years ago, that comic, who wrote
that? I forget. I don't even know what number it is. I just remember it was one of the most memorable Wolverine issues ever written, because it addresses all the continuity issues of why is he in every fucking comic that exists.
Yeah.
And this movie kind of felt like that. It showed him world weary and just beaten and tired, and he doesn't really bother. And then him and then Jackman really just brought it. Finally, they gave him, whoever wrote it. I don't know all the credits by heart yet, but whoever wrote it, they gave him real meat to chew on. He just, I mean, they've been doing plays and all sorts of different roles for the last decade or so, and he brought all that experience into this character that was really two-dimensional for years and years, and just made him like a real human being. Just really well-rounded, really tough. I mean, when I can't talk about certain scenes. There's a certain scene where he gets emotional. I don't want to give spoilers.
Yes,
You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
2/3 of the way, and and he's trying to talk, and he's getting choked up, and he can't finish a sentence, and he keeps repeating the beginning of the sentence he's trying to utter, and it was just like, it's just like, wow. This guy, you forget.
James Mangold directed it, and he wrote it, and then 3 other guys had a hand in it.
Yeah, when I saw
Mangold and Mike Green, and I don't know any of them.
When I saw that credit in the beginning with 4 people,
amazing job with this movie.
Oh fuck yeah! When I saw 4 people on the writing credit, I got worried because usually when you have more than one vision, in a movie when you're writing.
I think today in script doctors, it's part of the course. They just go over.
Script doctors don't get credited though. I don't think so. You have to be part of the union.
Carrie Fisher's the only script doctor I ever heard of.
Yeah, you never saw her name on any writing credit in any movie because it was all. Because I think you have to be union for the writing. The Writers Guild to get screen credit. You read all those stories about how certain writers get fucked over for a credit, or like someone who barely has a hand in it gets a writing credit when they did nothing. But usually most movies that have more than 1 or 2 writers, the movie's a jumbled mess.
I'm looking at the IMDb credits, and what's nice is it looks like John Romita Sr., Roy Thomas, Len Wein, Herb Trimpe, Craig Kyle, and Christopher Yost.
Yeah, I know.
All got credited. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Roy Thomas recently friended me on Facebook, which I was like all nerdy. I nerded out for like an hour about that. I was like, whoa, he likes me. But I think that's great that they're giving these guys their due.
Well, they're giving them credit.
I had the first issue where she showed up, X-23, NYX, and I just gave it to my cousin, she's in high school now. And it's going to go through the roof.
Maybe you guys know, was X-23 always Spanish? Or I always thought she was Asian.
No, she wasn't Spanish.
I never read any of her adventures, so I really don't know.
She was a clone, and it was kind of like that. The nurse that took care of her, or the doctor that took care of her,
right?
Named Alora and stuff. But I thought she was part of the Weapon X program from Canada.
I thought so too.
That's what the X-23 stands for.
Right.
Yeah,
because Wolverine. For years, you know what's funny? For years, as a kid, we're talking like from the 80s on, Wolverine was referred to as Weapon X from time to time, and it became more so as Wolverine grew in popularity and started showing up in different comics and getting his own solo title or whatever. And then they had the cool idea of explaining that he's Weapon 10.
Yeah.
And then they expanded the Weapon X program. That wasn't until maybe the late 90s, early 2000s.
No, that wasn't at the. Was it late 80s, early 90s? Shot off from the Barry Windsor Smith miniseries because isn't Deadpool supposed to be like X-13 or something? Isn't that Deadpool's?
Something along those lines. Yeah, he's one of those.
What about that French guy? Wasn't he one of them too? Phantom X?
Yes, I think he is. So, X-23, she's the 23rd experiment or whatever.
Phantom,
but you know what?
Phantom X6. He's
what this film did, what the Logan film did was it grounded Wolverine in reality while still he's popping claws and slicing off limbs and stabbing dudes in the face.
Right.
And stabbing them in the jaw, and the claws are popping up to the top of the dude's head, and he's, and then X-23 is just slaughtering people like a wild animal. She was amazing.
Yeah.
All that actress is freaking amazing. They nailed everything. I mean, it was a simple story. We got to go from point A to point B, and then here's what happens along the way. It's a gritty road movie. It's got all this drama and all this heart. Professor X is losing his mind from a degenerative brain disease and these seizures. He's so freaking powerful. When he has a seizure, he causes like 400 people.
Spoilers.
No, that's in the trailer, isn't it?
No, not that. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Because you know what? Maybe I saw that on a talk show. I think they were on Graham Norton talking about Professor X's mental issues.
Well, you know, yeah. Well, we all knew that he was older.
When we saw it, Gary said right away that was like the 1970s road movie.
Yeah,
Totally.
Like Vanishing Point, movies like that, where it's just because when you think about it, a lot of this movie was just the three characters, and they were spent a lot of time together. A lot of time together, but with very little dialogue between them. And when they spoke, it had something to do with the plot to advance the story forward. And then there were also a lot of contemplative, reflective scenes of them just sitting in silence, which was very meditative as well about the situation they're in, about responsibility, about fathers and sons, fathers and daughters, things like that, which was it's a great movie that features Wolverine. It's not a Wolverine movie. Because a lot of people have been saying this is a Western. When you think about it, this movie could be a Western.
Yeah, I said that last night.
Yeah, and it is. It really is. And that's what made it so good.
It has elements of a Western, but I think it's way more of a road. There were even one or two scenes in there that looked, I don't want to say rip-offs, but more like homages to Mad Max.
Yeah, got that feel too, Pete. Yes.
There's one scene toward the end. There's one scene toward the end. I don't want to spoil it. You guys will probably know what I'm talking about. It's with a bunch of characters around Logan, and there's a little superficial thing they do to his face, and it's very reminiscent of what's the Mad Max movie with the kids? Was that Beyond Thunderdome?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. There was some moments that I was just like, oh wow, that's so Mad Max. That's real. That was kind of cool because it's subtle. And
even with the scene you see in the trailer where all the cars are coming up to where Wolverine is,
right.
That felt, and then there's like 2 or 3 scenes in there where it just felt like chasing Mad Max. Yeah,
this is one of those movies, one of those rare movies where the advanced reviews were dead on. Like I read, and you can always assume those are hype. Like the advanced reviews or the reports from the screenings of, let's say, Batman versus Superman or something along those lines, where people are raving and it's just like, oh yeah, whatever. You're seeing a free movie and Warner DC wants you to fucking hype it up. But I read these glowing reviews of Logan weeks before it came out, and it really got me.
I avoided everything.
Me too. Me too. I didn't want to be spoiled at all.
And also Hugh Jackman, just as a person, again, he's an actor and he could be just a great bullshitter, but he just, on his interviews and podcasts, sometimes he's been on Nerdist or sometimes he's on Graham Norton or he's here and there, he comes across as very grounded. Maybe it's the Australian in him, you know what I mean? He still kind of seems to keep it real and really cares about what he's doing. And then, it was a nice touch to put out that article that he took a massive pay cut for it to be made rated R because he wanted to put out this definitive Wolverine movie. He wanted to really make this movie a certain way and took not like he needs the money. I mean, the guy's never going to not have work. He's always going to work because he's so versatile,
Right.
One of the things that I talk about this, the comic book community, comic book fandom, really owes Wolverine a big round of applause. I mean, Hugh Jackman, because remember what comic book movies were before that X-Men 1. They were really, they were garbage. They were garbage, and they were like a B movie. For the most part, they were B movies with people making with B actors.
That's because the studios didn't care about them. The studios didn't believe they could make money. They were just trying to justify the licensing rights that they paid for.
Yes.
And the thing is,
well, Blade was kind of
just like
Blade was the first success.
Like Mad Max. Almost like Mad Max. Road Warrior made an Australian Mel Gibson a star, and X-Men made an Australian Hugh Jackman a star. He just exploded on the screen.
Yeah. Nobody knew Hugh Jackman before he became Wolverine. And then,
of course,
the X-Men movie would have fallen apart if Wolverine didn't work.
Yes.
They were absolutely. He was the heart. He was the main focus of that first movie. And remember, everybody was like, "Oh, he's too tall. He's too tall. He's not this. He's not that."
Oh God, I hate that. I hate that when fucking nerds saying, "Well, he's not the 5-foot midget." It's like, find me a fucking in 2000. Find me a fucking 5-foot tall person who was a star that could carry a movie.
Yeah, well, Wolverine was just
Yeah,
Wolverine
and
was
jacked.
listed at Wolverine was always in the Marvel universe. He was 5'2", and how many 5'2" super jacked actors could you name who could pull it off? You know, you had what? Robin Williams was still 5'7". He was hairy as fuck, and that's the only reason they bounced his name around as Wolverine.
Yeah, by then he was too old.
I love that. Even though
And the other option,
great actor.
and Robin Williams, acting wise, he could play anything. But you know, he was way before the X-Men movie came out. He was one of the names that got bounced around. It was like, oh, this guy would be perfect as Wolverine.
Did Vito get bounced around for that too, like in the mid '90s kind of thing?
I don't know.
I honestly don't know. I mean, height wise, maybe I could see him being suggested, but he's a little butterball, you know. So.
Also, that first X-Men movie, what I think it did with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. It said,
right.
You want to make these movies? You better get damn good actors. Because if you get good actors, people are going to respond. And as somebody on this Big Finish Doctor Who forum, I said, talking about Patrick Stewart and the first season of Next Generation, said Patrick Stewart elevated the material.
Sure, because Next Generation had a lot of problems.
Right. And, and Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart elevated that relationship between Magneto and Professor X to heights.
And them becoming actual friends in real life only enhances the on-screen performance between the two because they adore each other.
Yeah.
They absolutely adore each other.
Ian McKellen actually performed the wedding ceremony for Patrick.
Yeah, those two. When you see those two together, they just adore each other. They're like brothers. It's the sweetest.
Well, you figure they got to know each other since the '70s when they were doing Shakespeare on all over Europe. I mean, all over.
Yeah.
You know, it's like. So that's one thing. So I think.
And also, people are forgetting.
A great send off was so appropriate. Like we owed him. You know, like that. Not only that Hollywood owed him because all of a sudden he brought life back to a genre that is now making him bazillions of dollars.
Yes.
And the comic book community owes him because he took one of the most popular characters in my lifetime, Wolverine, and just knocked it out of the park.
He brought maturity and grace to a character that on the surface is just an animal. And you know, you could throw Wolverine away, you know, in theory. He's a guy with claws who slashes people up. And the thing about Wolverine that always appealed to audiences was his humanity, his pain, his pathos. You know, what he went through in his 100 years of life or whatever. And Jackman, like, if this is the be all end all, the last instance of him playing Wolverine, it was, you couldn't ask for anything better. It's just like he went out like
Patrick Stewart. This was the best.
I
wouldn't be surprised if his name gets bandied about for best supporting actor come Oscar.
He would deserve it, and he went on again. He was on Graham Norton, and he said he announced his retirement from the Professor X role because he said that he doesn't feel there is anything better he could do with that character after this movie.
Oh, I don't think so either.
He said that there was. He said there's nothing. They both talked about how they got really emotional when the movie wrapped because they were like, "Wow, we're not gonna play these guys together anymore."
Yeah, they've been playing them for what?
15 years.
2001. Yeah, 15 years.
Yeah.
That's all.
2000 was the first one. Yeah.
They were kids reading Wolverine comics today that weren't alive.
Mm-hmm. So technically,
here's my Professor X gripe, by the way. I'm going to be a comic book Professor X gripe. They talk about him like he's a charismatic visionary, but nobody ever writes him like that. Nope. Everybody writes him like a boring old guy.
They wrote him like a librarian.
As a teacher. As a teacher. In the comic books, they write him as a teacher, and in the X-Men movies, this one, there was more of a father-son bond between the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which really added a lot of gravitas to the story, more than just being a teacher-pupil. Because you don't have that emotional connection, teacher-pupil. I mean, you do, but not like a father-son bond. And I think that added a lot.
They allowed Patrick Stewart to bring some of his humor, because Patrick Stewart is really funny.
Yeah.
Like, if you've ever seen him on Blunt Talk, he's hilarious.
And Ricky Gervais thing, extras. When Ricky Gervais gets into his trailer and Patrick Stewart's telling the idea.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was howling.
Patrick Stewart is actually really funny.
He did a lot of comedy on Next Generation. He was just funny. Remember the
he's
drunk episode?
He's got great comic timing, and he's got he's got the voice, he's got the ability to be dramatic, and they gave him room to do all of that. Yeah. To just really. That's what was so great that it's the problem with these action movies. I know I keep cutting myself off, but the problem with these action movies is they fatten up the plot and they throw so much into it to keep you. So that way, like every other minute, there's something blowing up or some earth-shattering thing is coming after the heroes or whatever. You don't get a chance to really settle into the characters and really care about them. And with this, being that the main focus was Wolverine, Professor X, and X-23/Laura, you got to really get into them and care about. You got to care about what was happening.
Yeah, because it was more of a family drama. It really was a family drama.
It's all about them, so they don't waste any time cutting away to going to some other character. Or it's the bulk of the movie is these three people, and that's who you want to see, and that's all you really care about.
Yes, exactly, and that's why
there's a lot of people in my life, my family and friends. They all know that I'm a big comic book geek now. They always, whenever a movie comes out, they ask me how it was. So when I watch these things, I always think about when they, and as Gary knows, I started my nephew. He's a freshman in high school now, but I started, I made him a fanboy when he was a kid. Started giving him comics. My cousin Sue, who's a freshman in high school now, I've been giving her comics and all that. So I always have to sort of think, what am I going to tell their parents? Like, what movies they can go see? Today I said, if I was their age, nothing would stop me from seeing this movie. No R-rated movie. I would get somebody to get me in whatever. And I said, it's like it's Mel Gibson brutal, Hacksaw Ridge brutal.
Yeah.
And there's lots, and the cursing F-bombs. I said, but if they do sneak in and see it, I said you could just be rest assured they saw a great movie.
Let me tell you something. When I was a kid, I saw every R-rated movie I wanted to see. Nothing stopped me. If I was drawn in, I saw Freddy Krueger, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I saw the Halloween movies. It didn't matter. I was never.
This is how we used to get in. We would stand in front of the theater and go, and any adult that walked by, any adult guy walked by, said, "Hey, buddy, can you do me a favor? Can you get us into this movie?" And we give him the money, and he'd buy tickets for us, and we'd go in, and he'd go on his way.
Well, that was the one benefit of living in Brooklyn, living in the ghetto. Nobody gave a fuck. If you had the money, you could go in.
Exactly. That's the way it was at the Fort Wayne. I was seeing R-rated movies when I was 6, 8, 9. As long as I had the fucking money.
You know what, guy? I can tell.
I was seeing movies like I don't remember if Gloria was an R-rated movie, but my aunt took me to see that when I was a kid.
Oh wow, the original Gloria, yeah.
Wasn't that
the gangster movie, the gangster chick? It's she's a mob woman.
Yeah, Cassavetes film. Cassavetes,
yes,
1980.
Wasn't it? She was running away from the mob with a kid.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was a good play.
It's very similar to the Logan premise. You know what I mean? She's trying to get from point A to point B with a kid in tow, while a bunch of forces of evil are after her, and she's a rough and tumble character who at the time used a lot of profanity, but now it's laughable. Like one of my favorite lines from the movie is my favorite line because it's so fucking corny, but at the time it sounded so tough. But she pulls out a snub-nosed .38 and she's making all these mobsters back away from her as she steps out of this building, and she's like, "All right, you bananas, get over against the wall."
Actually, Gloria was a PG movie.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm looking at the poster now.
Yeah,
don't forget, PG back in the 70s and 80s is way different than PG of the last 20 years.
Totally. I mean, the things that child characters did in the 70s and 80s would not fly at a PG rating today.
Yes. Oh hell yeah.
Absolutely would. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy. Look at Taxi Driver. You kidding? Imagine Taxi Driver coming out now. Jodie Foster was, 13, 14 when she did that shit?
Yeah, exactly. Jesus, think about all those 80s movies that had nudity, or about like
all
like
those kids, they're all
teenage
like
teenagers getting laid, or teenage boys fucking like older women, their babysitter, their teacher.
Risky
Those are all
Business,
PG
private,
movies.
Private Lessons.
Yeah.
What about Porky's?
Last American Virgin. Oh yeah, Porky's.
Yeah, Porky's, My
None of
Tutor.
those movies would be P. I think they were they R back in the
Oh
day.
yeah, they were all R, but they expected teenagers to go see them.
Right.
See, I think those movies were PG. Honestly.
Risky Business was. I know My Tutor, my Private Lessons. You know the one Sylvia Cristal, the French chick, whatever.
Yeah.
That was R. I'm pretty sure Porky's was R. It might have gone PG at the end, but the first one was R. I'm pretty sure Risky Business was. Porky's was 1981.
Yeah, and it's an R.
R.
It was an R.
It is R.
But geez, movies like My Tutor, I think were PG.
Oh, My Tutor had.
But a lot of those, yeah, that was R too. A lot of those PG movies had. Remember all those sand and sorcery movies that came out after Conan? They had like tons of nudity. Those things were all PG.
Was rated R. The first Conan was rated R. The second one was PG.
Yeah. Well, you know what the thing is that R is always nudity and violence and I don't remember if it was the Marvel movies that were credited with pushing the PG-13 envelope or something else, but
no, Indiana Jones, the second Indiana Jones movie, that caused such an uproar because of the heart being torn out of the chest. That created the PG-13 rating, and the first movie under the PG-13 rating was Red Dawn. Actually, was yes.
Wow.
That is the first PG-13 movie on Wikipedia. It's amazing how a movie like that was PG-13. I guess because of the excessive violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a lot of shooting. They were killing everybody.
Yeah.
There's those weird
Conan
rules where depending on how many characters you're only allowed to kill a certain amount of characters per scene.
You're only allowed to say like certain amount of curse words.
Yes, I think if you say fuck 3 times, it gets an R rating.
Yeah, in order to get around the whole killing rule, you have to have a lot of cuts. So each cut is technically considered a new scene. I mean, I might be wrong on this, and I have wine in me, so I don't really give a fuck. But it's like every time the camera switches angles, it's like a different scene, even though in reality you're watching the same continuous scene just from different angles. You can get around that limitation of how many people you can kill in a certain shot. Like I remember, what's the Chow Yun-Fat movie where is it Hard Boiled that it ends in the hospital? There's a big action sequence in the hospital. And
no, not Hard Boiled. The one with the Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. Oh man.
The Killers?
The Killers. I'm pretty sure it's The Killers.
It's one. We might be mixing the two, but one of those movies. I remember that the in China they didn't have those type of restrictions. They could just slaughter like 100 people in one shot without having to cut away.
By the way, Hard Boiled had Lizard from Five Deadly Venoms in it.
Oh no shit! Oh, one of my favorite movies.
He was Mad Dog. He was the killer they brought in. He's wearing all black and he tries.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that's Lizard.
Wow, man, I'm looking up all these '80s movies, like all the Schwarzenegger stuff. All this stuff was R-rated, but I just remember how easy it was to get into the theaters back then, like at any age.
Nobody was. But think about it. Nobody's going to stop you. They're working minimum wage. At the time in the '80s, they were making $5 an hour if they were lucky.
If they were lucky, yeah.
The only person who stopped you was some fucking Poindexter who really took his job to heart, had no power in his real life, and the only authority he had was to check your fucking ID at a movie theater. That shit never happened.
Well, I mean, there was certain, I got in, we were in 8th grade, it was Sensuous Nurse, and for some reason, we had half a day or the day off, and a whole bunch of the guys went to see it. We got a guy to bring us in, and oh man, some of the people in that audience, we were like, oh man, maybe we shouldn't be in here. You know what I mean? But we loved it.
The Sensuous Nurse, 1975? Holy fuck. With Ursula Andress?
But it took a while to get over to the U.S., so it was 79? Because I was in 8th grade, I remember.
And that was an R rating.
And I looked young. I didn't look like the eighth grader with who could shave. I looked like an eighth grader.
But you know what's funny? The whole R rating, PG, PG-13, that shit is almost irrelevant if you have a fucking relationship with your child where they understand the difference between fantasy and reality.
Yes. Oh hell yeah!
Like if you teach your kids this is not real, you can't do that in real life. You can't talk like that in real life. It's just a movie. It's make believe. They should have no problem. I mean, of course, I'm simplifying.
What I like about South Park, look at those kids, especially their first one with the Christmas card they sent out. Santa versus when you were in third grade, you had the filthiest mouse ever.
Sure, listen. I remember when I caught my niece.
We still do.
The first time I heard my niece curse, I went to school. I went to junior high school to pick her up, and I was leaning against a tree, just waiting for her to come out of school. And she was walking down the block with her friends, and I heard her curse, and it made me laugh so hard. I just hid my face because I thought it was so cute. You know, she was 12 years old. She said fuck, and when one of her schoolmates went, "Oh my God, is that your uncle?" and she froze. She just turned pale white, and I laughed. And then we she separated from her friends. We said goodbye, and on the walk home, we just had a talk about when it's okay to curse and when it's okay not. Like because adults curse around her all the time. So how are you going to turn around and say don't curse?
Yeah.
When you're an adult and you're cursing in front of them every fucking chance you get. It's ridiculous.
I don't think you have to explain it to her because you grow up and your parents and your aunts and uncles.
Yeah, but she was
they're all drinking.
12.
They're all smoking.
12, so
you don't smoke. Yeah.
But, she was a kid. You have the talk and you just. It wasn't too.
I think as a kid, you can talk to your friends one way. You're not going to talk to your friends that way. It
wasn't so much to explain it to her for the first time, so much as just to see where her head was at, and that she knew when and where to do it. That's really. It was just kind of making sure because she's always been bright. But I mean, it wasn't a big deal. It's like, how can you really get on your kids for profanity when you're using it all the time? It's ridiculous. It's hypocritical. And the same thing with.
I don't think so. I think there's we're getting off topic.
No, it all ties together because we started out talking about Wolverine's R rating, so I'm aware of the thread.
Well, here's the one thing about the R rating.
Most kids even realize that there are certain thresholds that you can't do something until you're in the schoolyard. Everybody knows the difference between like the high school kids, the junior high kids, and the grammar school kids. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But it's also like violence. Like kids play violent fucking video games, and again, as long as the parents have some sort of connection with them and let them know, or just double check, like that's not real, right? You can't do that stuff. You can't.
I hear that all the time, and it's always like Jack Ford's violent video games and ruining people or such an innocent. When you were a kid, did you ever think, "Oh yeah, people could be Batman in real life"? No,
not at all.
It's not.
No, I never thought of it. There are some kids out there who.
No.
But that's because they're not being raised right. Yeah, no, there are
kids out there.
Well, yeah, they are. They're the ones that go and shoot up schools.
No, they shoot up schools for other reasons. But I mean, man, there's like one in a billion kid who's got other problems. And, maybe his problems make him fixate on things. But you knew you couldn't, like Bruce Lee. People aren't Bruce Lee in real life. You know that John Wayne or like
not when you're a
kid. Tall. Yeah, especially
listen.
Come on, yes, exactly.
When Superman the movie came out, there were news stories about. Well, it was probably one news story, but there was a kid that threw himself out the window because he thought he could fly.
See, I think that's an urban legend.
No, that was a news report.
Even if it is real, you're talking one kid. You're talking one kid out of millions of people watching it.
It's the same shit with heavy metal. They blamed Ozzy Osbourne's Suicide Solution for kids killing themselves because they had that record in their house. No, that's also a news article.
But I remember
growing up,
about George Reeves' Superman. Oh, a kid threw him out of the thing, like when you're fourth grade, kid threw himself out,
If it's an urban legend, then the news reported an urban legend, because I do remember hearing it, because I was a big Superman fan. I love that movie, so of course my family was mentioning it to me, like checking out to see if I wanted to jump out the fucking window.
I mean, and, we just called him a jag-off and then, went on with our lives. You're talking one kid out of millions who jumps off a roof, and now everybody starts blaming the fucking movie because they're afraid to blame the school system, the church, the family unit themselves. So they always blamed.
It all starts with the family. Everything else is secondary.
Exactly, but the family's not going to blame themselves for the kid jumping off the roof. They're going to blame the easiest target, which was the movie, the video game, whatever you want. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the way they do it.
The point I'm trying to make.
Nobody comes out and says, "Oh, I'm a bad parent." No parent comes out and says that.
People are connected to their kids, and they give their kids a structure and a basis in reality, then you really don't have to worry about them going to a rated R movie, because they're going to know the difference. That's the point I'm trying to.
Yes. Oh, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
My mother swears by the fact that the original Superman cartoon was canceled because kids threw themselves out the window. So
the Fleischer cartoons?
No, I think the other ones, the ones with the Aquaman and the Superman Aquaman hour.
From the 60s?
Yeah.
I don't think that at all.
Yes, no. George Reeves Superman playing the actor portrayed Superman.
No, I can't see that stuff in the 60s. That stuff was so milquetoast. I couldn't.
Yeah, that was the story of the kid jumping out the window because Superman was from the Christopher Reeve.
I got a Spider-Man death. I got a kid, 6-year-old boy who fell climbing on the walls outside his apartment.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, there's another story of the two little black kids that were doing wrestling moves, and one killed the other by accident.
Oh yeah.
It's in the same vein.
It's
just really. Well, it's a matter of just making sure the kids know the difference between fantasy and fiction.
Exactly. Or,
that's the point. That's what I'm trying to get.
All those kids that read Harry Potter think magic is real.
Who knows? Listen, you got fucking people, grown-ups, that think they're witches that are trying to cast spells against Donald Trump, and the White House is legitimately upset about witches working against Trump. So come on.
I saw that on Facebook. I fucking cringed when I saw that. Really, that was so stupid.
And I wonder if that's real.
But at least one of the posters said, "Hey, I know this isn't real, but it's still a way for women to organize themselves and have a voice against Trump's policies." But it's then why do it under the canopy of calling yourself a witch? Because then you just lose that argument,
I just wanted to know why all the witches in the witch march were overweight. Why were they all fat witches? What the fuck is up with that?
Now you're perpetuating stereotypes, Pete.
Oh, fuck it, who cares?
Right.
Hey, I thought the stereotype for a witch was, what's her name? Belinda Montgomery.
Who's that?
What's his name? Bewitched.
Oh, that's not her.
Elizabeth Montgomery.
Samantha.
Elizabeth Montgomery was her real name. Samantha.
Samantha. And or the what was the one with Nev Campbell? Remember it was like Mean Girls but witches.
Oh yeah,
the Craft.
Yeah.
That actually wasn't bad. Are they supposed to be remaking that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
But I think that actually wasn't bad. I mean, I remember it being cool. I don't know if it still holds up. I mean, I saw it. I haven't seen it since it came out. But.
All right. So wait, we're gonna move on. But last thing on Wolverine, what I was trying to say is that Deadpool has a lot of should get a lot of credit for making this Wolverine movie an R movie, because Deadpool showed that an R movie could be successful in the superhero vein. Do you think now you'll see less campy, more mature superhero movies coming down the line that'll be a hard R if the character warrants it?
What I was thinking yesterday after seeing the movie was, I feel like we're watching the maturity, we're watching the adult phase of comic book movies being born, coming into place.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was thinking that too while watching it, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they said that about Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Well,
you know
Winter Soldier though didn't have a lot of hard R themes like Logan or Deadpool. I mean,
but I'm saying that
but it was very mature.
It was very mature. It was good storytelling, but it's still a comic book movie in that regard. You know, it is mature, but it's still
really. I mean, Winter Soldier is really a spy thriller with comic characters thrown in, and then Deadpool is the first real comic book movie straight up and down that had an R rating that made a fucking fortune.
Because of its ultra violence, yeah.
Yeah, and Fox had no confidence in it. I mean, it really was, everybody according to the reports, they pretty much feel like Ryan Reynolds was the one that leaked that test footage to the web that made everybody salivate for Deadpool, which got Fox to eke out that $55 million budget or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then that made 10 times its money back. And it was
didn't everybody kind of write Deadpool off for a while?
Totally.
Oh, yeah. And I think Ryan Reynolds, they were writing it off because of the first Wolverine movie, which ruined the character.
Actually, no. From what I understand is Deadpool got shelved when Green Lantern tanked.
Oh,
because Ryan Reynolds was gonna play Deadpool from years from way before, and then when Green Lantern went belly up, Fox lost confidence in Ryan Reynolds and was gonna shelve Deadpool.
But didn't Ryan Reynolds have a string of not so hot?
Yeah, he's never been a great actor. He had fucking those Van Wilder movies?
Well, you know what it is? He's kind of got that sort of cool funny guy thing.
He's a good-looking white man between the ages of 23 and 34, and that's why he gets movie roles.
Remember Bill Murray in what was the campground once? What was the one we went to camp?
No, Meatballs.
No,
Meatballs.
You know, like his character was supposed to be like this ultra cool guy that everybody kind of like wanted to hang out around with. But that's Ryan's appeal.
I don't think Bill Murray wasn't. Bill Murray wasn't ultra cool in Caddyshack. What made him cool was that he just didn't give a shit.
Meatballs.
Oh, Meatballs, right. Again, I keep thinking Caddyshack. I keep seeing him in the damn Gopher.
But didn't even Ryan Reynolds push to get the Deadpool movie made? Like he he wanted it to be an R.
Ryan Reynolds and the director really.
Yeah, they're saying that Reynolds is the one that leaked the footage that really made it happen. Because when people saw that test footage of the highway scene, where the car flips over and he drops down into the truck and all that shit, that's what really got it going. Otherwise, Deadpool was going to sit on a shelf in a vault.
But I think Ryan Reynolds wanted it to be an R. I think he's the one that really pushed it to be an R. He really wanted it to be loyal to the source material.
When that came back and said that was the most successful R-rated movie of all time, I was like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. It turns out it was.
Was Jaws R?
Jaws? I think Jaws might have been PG-13, believe it or not.
Didn't have PG-13 at the time. PG or R.
Jaws was PG. Jaws was PG. Because, when you think about it, there's not... A lot of the killing, the first killing with the woman, is very suggestive. You see very little blood. Like, even when the kids killed on the raft is probably where you see the most blood.
When the leg drops down.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's not showing violence. That's not showing violence. That's the after effects of violence,
Or when Quint gets cut in two.
Right, but you don't see a lot. You really don't see a lot of blood gushing out of them like you would see nowadays. Nowadays they would have buckets of blood.
The blood was coming out of his mouth, and there was blood all over the place, and it went on a pretty long time. It was a perfect scene, by the way, to show. You remember the
but it's cut well.
And Robert Shaw's just going,
It's cut well. It's edited well. They don't really linger on it like a movie nowadays would,
Right, where you're watching like guts being torn out piece by piece.
Yeah, like those fucking Saw movies and shit, like.
But then again, that's true. Where they got into it's like
Did you see Axel Ridley yet, by the way?
No.
I didn't watch it yet.
Oh man, Mel Gibson. He loves brutality in his movies. He doesn't.
Like Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, or Apocalypto.
Yes,
This is like Saving Private Ryan on steroids.
Okay, I gotta watch that. And I will, but I think maybe we'll see more mature movies of the superhero genre that calls for
Okay,
it.
what do you think of Mel Gibson's name being possible Suicide 2 director?
I have no problem with it. I have no problem with that. I think he's a good director.
I think he can make a good movie. I mean, he's crazy as fuck, but if you just look at his work and his ability, he'd probably make a great director for, he'd probably make a great comic movie. Just don't ask him what he thinks about Jews, blacks.
Yeah. If you give him a superhero movie with lots of gratuitous violence and action, I think he'd be perfect for it.
Yeah, I was thinking he would just make the Dirty Dozen with the Suicide Squad.
Exactly.
But he'd want to kill some people, though.
How funny is it that Suicide Squad won an Oscar for hair and makeup?
I know
that is pretty funny.
That was pretty.
Like I didn't think anything was exceptional about that movie.
No, nothing. First of all, it's 3 different movies smashed together because they had at least 3 different editing teams working on it, and it looks like that. It looks like 3 completely disjointed films shoved together.
It does. It really does. It has various tone shifts throughout the whole movie. It really didn't know what it wanted to be.
All the hubbub about Jared Leto's Joker scenes being cut, they should have been cut because he fucking brought nothing to the movie and he brought nothing to that role.
I thought I was either going to love or hate him, and I was like, meh.
He's horrible. He brought nothing. It looked like a guy who admired the Joker. Like within the Batman universe, it would make more sense if he was a guy who thought the Joker was really cool and was trying to idolize him. Yeah, a Joker wannabe, perfect. Because that is not the Joker. He was just a thug. He looked like a juggalo in Joker makeup.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have said, and it wasn't. I mean, I don't mind him doing a different interpretation of the Joker, but it was, like you said, a little bit too juggalo.
It really wasn't even a different impersonation of the Joker. It was just like an impersonation of Scarface in Joker makeup.
Yeah, Scarface.
It could have been.
Well, that's what he brought. If he tried to do Heath Ledger, people would rip on him for doing Heath Ledger. If he tried to do Jack Nicholson, people would rip on him doing Jack Nicholson. If he tried to do Cesar Romero, people would rip on him for Cesar Romero. I mean, the only unifying thing between everybody doing the Joker is the laugh. So you had to bring something different every time. Heath Ledger did something different from Jack Nicholson and so on. That's his interpretation. It was a little bit too much gangster for me and a little bit too juggalo. But there was nothing special about it. Yeah, there was nothing special about it.
He was just a thug. He could have just been. He might have been more interesting were he a completely original character and acted the way he did. He probably would have been more palatable. But since he's playing the Joker, which has been so defined by each person that's played him, I mean, Mark Hamill has for me, Mark Hamill is the Joker. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he's played him the longest too, so.
Yeah, he's played him the longest. He's really put a stamp on that character. Nicholson came along and did a great sort of homage to Cesar Romero meets Jack Nicholson. Then Ledger comes along and completely fucking changes the game and steals the movie in every scene. He just steals the movie from Christian Bale effortlessly. But with Jared Leto, his behind the scenes antics were more noteworthy than the performance.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Could you have made that movie with Harley Quinn in it without having anything with the Joker in it? To get a broader audience.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because the Joker, even with the few scenes that the Joker was in the movie, maybe 15 minutes altogether, you figure, and maybe with the scene, and then with the extended version has like 9 to 11 more minutes of stuff. The Joker adds nothing to the plot. Nothing. You could completely remove him. Margot Robbie was so great as Harley Quinn. She didn't need the Joker to boost her character or to enhance her performance because he brought nothing to it.
Yep.
You know what I took exception to? That thing is like the Joker is a crook from Gotham City, and somehow within like 2 seconds he's infiltrated a top secret organization, got the locale of the prison they're using, and goes to break out Margot Robbie. I'm like, wait. You know, there could be kingpins in New York City that are powerful, but they're not infiltrating the CIA.
But the whole premise is ridiculous. I mean, when we're talking a superhero movie, but it's like, it could have been cool as fuck, but they had to throw in, okay, we have Superman level threats in the world. Let's put together a team to take him out. So we get a 100-pound girl with a bat, a fucking guy who throws boomerangs.
Yeah.
You know, we get another guy who can shoot really well. Oh, and we got this guy, expendable character who can climb things. You know, the rope guy that they blew up just to show that the bombs are real. And we get the crocodile guy who's nowhere near as strong as Superman. It's like, whoa, this is the team you put together to take out a Superman level threat?
Well, that's one of the things that confused me. It's like, wait, you put this team together, blah, 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 and you got to go rescue Amanda Waller. Wait,
right.
What the fuck is she doing in this? She could have done it in Washington. She could have ran the whole show. And then when they get there, they'll sit around and watch El Diablo fight
you know what? He's the only character, the most disposable character in the movie ended up being the only character that had a fucking arc. He actually evolved. He's the only character that was actually written and had an evolutionary arc, which is the whole purpose of the movie. Those characters, everybody else was exactly the way they were going out as they came in. Except
I hated that. I really was sitting there going,
They should have made a fucking Diablo movie, because he's the only character that had any meat. There was nothing to anybody else. There was nothing to anybody else. Will Smith, there was this whole thing with him not
I like the Will Smith scenes. When he kills the guy, you know, the ricochet, and when he his daughter, and how he gets captured. But I just felt that was part of some other movie that they end up throwing in this movie.
Well, it could have been the efforts of whatever editing team worked on whatever segment. You know, because him, Margot Robbie, everybody else in the movie, they are untouched by the plot. They're just going through the game. You know, they're going through the story, and they're completely untouched by it. Diablo was the only one who evolved. He's the only one who was actually...
Yeah, yep.
He's the only one. He actually evolved, but he's the only...
I told Gary, before that movie came out, I think that everybody was going to die. And El Diablo was one of the guys I thought was going to die. I was really shocked when he lived.
Yeah. No, he didn't. Didn't he blow up at the end?
No, but he went back to his normal self.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, that movie...
He fought that demon, that fire demon.
Yeah.
The funniest part to me was at the end.
Oh, come back to us. But, I mean, think about that. He turns into that, huge demigod of fire.
Yeah.
And nobody goes, what the fuck just happened? Especially Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller doesn't go... Nobody has a meeting where they say, this El Diablo guy, he turned into a 12-foot fire god.
Yeah, he turned into a giant flaming skull demon. We didn't know he could do that.
Yeah. Like, isn't there a fallout from that? Shouldn't you be a little worried about a guy like that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if he tattooed himself like that. He comes from a gangster,
Well, the whole
worried about El Diablo.
And the movie ends with a big generic laser, energy beam.
Oh, it's so annoying.
Surrounded by junk.
Also, when they brought her back, Enchantress, I was like, why? Why bring that character back? That character sucked.
She did nothing.
And the love story between him and her sucked. I didn't buy it 1 second.
Oh, between her
sucked. I thought whatever his name was, he sucked.
That was a Flag, wasn't it? Flag or something?
Flag. I don't know who the actor is, but he sucked.
Oh, that's Negan.
I don't know.
That's Negan. That's Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
No, the Flag was played by the guy from that from the TV series The Killing that was on AMC. He played the cop.
We're talking about Flag?
Flag.
He was the boyfriend of the Enchantress.
The military guy.
Why you here? How come you're here? And he finally says, remember when they all leave and he goes, I need you guys because my girlfriend's a big demon now.
Yeah, the one, the military guy. Yeah, that was terrible.
I got to double check.
My favorite part of how bad the movie was.
Said, remember in the trailer he goes, you do this, I kill you. You do this, I'll kill you.
Yeah. I swore that was Jeffrey. I swore that was Jeffrey Dean.
No, not at all. No, my favorite part at the end though is when they have to blow up the giant blue laser, and they give the bomb for, what is it, Deadshot or whomever to throw into the blue laser to blow it up. Meanwhile, you have Boomerang, who is supposed to be the best, most accurate thrower on Earth, and they don't even give him the job of throwing the bomb. They give it. That shows how bad characterization these characters were, because you don't even think.
IMDb. They never like here's IMDb. I'm looking at Suicide Squad. So Will Smith is at
the
top.
So nice.
Jamie Fitzsimmons. The second thing, Sergeant Amos Bravo 14. Who the hell is he?
Mm-hmm.
Ike Barahon.
No
idea. Then Margot Robbie. Now listen to this guy. Christopher Dyson. He is credited as the missing hand guard. Followed by a name I can't
T-shirt.
even...
T-shirt vendor.
What? Like, what is the thing? It's not alphabetical.
Dude, the T-shirt vendor is...
The what? The T-shirt vendor?
The T-shirt vendor is like the fifth... He's the fifth credited guy on the front page of IMDb Suicide Squad. The guy we're talking about is even on the front page.
Jesus. That is pathetic.
And this guy's been in a lot of... He's been in a few stuff, like the... Where the hell is he?
Dude, the T-shirt guy is listed higher than Amanda Waller and the Joker.
Yeah. But to be honest, he was a damn good T-shirt vendor.
He was memorable. Bam Jahandala, whatever the fuck his name is.
But anyway, that was a terrible movie. But hopefully, like I was saying, Logan and Deadpool will make better R-rated movies with characters who deserve an R rating in their movie, like a Punisher, type character.
Well, with the Punisher, we've got the Netflix series to look forward to.
Yes.
With what's his name? What's the actor's name? I told you, draw blank now. John Bernthal.
Yeah. Oh, that guy's going to be at the New York. What do you call it? What's the name of that show?
The Big Apple Con, the New York, the Carbonaro,
which is a small potatoes
con
for this day and age.
I used to go to that con ages ago.
I used to go to that con too. Remember?
Yeah.
Hotel across, and it was like in 3 different floors, and it was in the room closet.
And you always walked out.
They got a guy that big to be at one.
Hey, Carbonaro's very successful. He's a successful dealer. He runs a couple of successful
everybody in the business.
cons. For him to get people like that, he's getting Stan Lee. Stan Lee is doing his wedding Friday night. The Friday night before the con, Carbonaro's getting married, and Stan Lee is going to preside over the wedding. Now that's something to get 93-year-old Stan Lee to fly cross-country from sunny, warm L.A. in the fucking winter to come to New York to, stand there and be Stan Lee during this wedding. That's pretty impressive.
That guy must really have some dirt on Stan Lee.
I'm sure the check clears with Carbonaro. He's
got the photos.
Rick Flag is Joel Kinnaman. He was in The Killing. He was in RoboCop. He was in Run All Night. Run All Night.
Yeah, he's not a bad actor. He just he was good in The Killing for a lousy TV show, but
he was in House of Cards.
See, wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, and but they give him a good actor to this shitty role, and they do nothing with him.
Well, and then it's not, and then what people seem to forget is it's not the actor's fault. They're doing a job. They're employees.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it is the actor's fault.
Yeah, they can only do what they're allowed to do by the director and the editor.
Yeah, but they gotta act. Wow, this guy's from Stockholm, Sweden. Holy shit.
Yeah. He was in the original Killing, which was a Swedish or Norwegian show, and then they redid it for America. And he came over and did.
I could not finish that show.
Are there?
Oh, it was terrible. Yeah, it was a terrible show.
Are there any comic book movies on the line that you guys may have heard about that are headed for an R rating?
No, not really.
No. But the thing was, I don't think anybody suspected. What's his name? Deadpool to do well. They thought Deadpool was going to come out and fall flat, just like you know, Fox was. You know, they was going to have to. Fox was going to have to give all their shit back to Marvel. I don't know. Like I just don't know. You know, because they and then Superman, Batman comes out and that failed, and you know Snyder pushed the boundaries with that. And then,
but it technically didn't. I mean, money-wise, it
no,
made a killing.
And everybody hated it. But then look at Suicide Squad. Everybody kind of hated it, but it made a lot of money. So
it still did, yeah. But you know
on Facebook. Oh my God, the DC clubs. A lot of the people love that fucking movie. A lot of.
But you know what? The all the comic geek shit aside, Warner Brothers has focused in on the foreign market, and like according to reports on Wonder Woman and the Batman movie, which is probably going to be a mess because it's just been in upheaval from day one. You know, Affleck's in, he's out, he's acting, he's not acting, this guy's directing, blah blah. And there were some reports saying that some experts or some people in the field, some peers read the script, and they said there's like 30 things that can be changed to improve this script. And Warner's general opinion was, don't worry about it because they're focusing on the foreign markets, and because of the language barrier, they won't care anyway.
There's a YouTube channel called Midnight Edge.
I watched that.
Right.
That's where I got that from.
Yeah, did you hear what they said about Warner Brothers, though? They said Warner Brothers doesn't need DC franchise because all their other movies are doing good.
Right.
So,
and didn't they finish in like one of the top film companies to finish financially?
I think they would. Yeah.
I think Warner Brothers and Sony finished strong. As far as
I think Sony's in trouble on a lot of fronts.
Yeah, I think a lot of Sony movies are bombing, but
also
Warner does well because of all its other stuff.
Bombing, like their PlayStation isn't doing as well as they hoped, and like all these things. So that's why they got in bed with Marvel.
And you know what? That's right, because now that you mentioned that, I do remember coming across a video blog about there is a rumor Sony might be selling off its film division if they don't do well this year.
Well, they're going to do well with Homecoming.
Oh
no, that's a Marvel release.
But Sony gets the money.
Sony gets money on certain things, but not. I don't think Sony gets the domestic revenue. I think Sony gets
the merchandise.
The merchandise, and Marvel Studios gets the box office revenue.
Well, then it's going to be $1 billion movie.
I hope so.
Spider-Man is just Spider-Man.
But my worry is that the Spider-Man was fucking incredible in Civil War because he was being handled by the Russos.
Right, exactly. I agree 100%. But the thing is, Sony said, listen, we need to revitalize this franchise. This is $1 billion franchise. This is one of the two most popular superheroes in the world. Batman and
Literally, literally.
You go anywhere, you can see Spider-Man,
Spider-Man is no. I mean, they have Spider-Man in India and Egypt, and and I talk to people on Facebook who everybody knows who the fuck that character is. It's like Superman, Superman and Batman. They're known around the planet.
So like you said, international market. You could put boom, Spider-Man. People are going to show. They're going to talk about it. People are going to show up. It's going to be on. But and they know he can make $1 billion.
Speaking of money and the film, I saw something a day or two ago that said by next year, China is going to be the leading film industry, the film market, as far as money.
I wonder how much they pay for tickets in China. Like if you live in Beijing, how much you paying?
You know what? I could talk to some friends and ask. I know quite a few people that live in Singapore. So
Singapore is in China.
Well, I have friends that also visit. One of my buddies, actually, that I spoke to earlier, is going back to China in another couple of weeks. So he goes there here.
You figure China, I mean, they're doing well financially now, but they're slowing down. But I mean,
they have more billionaires. They have more billionaires than the U.S.
Yeah, but I mean, think about of course they have the Communist Party, but I mean, the rank and file guys, the people that live,
Oh no, they're
the
struggling.
average movie
The average guy is fucking struggling. I mean, there are stories that I hear from friends of mine who either live in China or have recently visited, and people are so desperate for money they're like throwing themselves in front of cars just to hopefully survive, get the lawsuit.
What's the name? But if you look at the Chinese movie industry, they've been making great movies, like high production, great looking movies. You look at some of the some of those wire kung fu movies. They looked House of Flying Daggers. The Jet Li one. What was the Jet Li one? Was it blue? The one where it was 4 parts and each one was a different color. Hero. Remember?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, think about how great that movie was. The cinematography is amazing.
Speaking of the Chinese market, that was really the only reason I was even remotely interested in trying to watch The Great Wall, which I did try, and I just couldn't get. I got bored. After 10 minutes, I just turned it off because it just felt like the same old shit. It felt like The 13th Warrior. It felt like The Last Samurai. But what I read about the behind the scenes is that it's the first big budget Chinese film, produced on like an American scale, like a Western scale.
I saw a headline that said, this might put in jeopardy the international cooperation between U.S. and Chinese filmmakers.
Yes, because if it doesn't make its money back, which so far, last time I checked Box Office Mojo, it made its money back. It seems like it made double its budget back, but primarily from overseas. Over here, last time I checked, it was about 37 million and change domestic, and something like 268 million and change foreign. So it looks like
I didn't even know it was out.
Yeah, it's been out for about 2 weeks, and I believe it's like $150 million budget. So it made about 300 million or so far, which is like double its budget. So I guess financially it could be considered a success, but it was a bomb out here. But if it did well, if it made its money back, then it would open the doors for more Chinese American films to be made in the future. Bigger budget Chinese films, which could be really cool.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where the film industry is moving anyway.
Well, China's making the money now. China alone has 3 times the population of the U.S.
Yeah.
So you have a movie like Warcraft. Warcraft bombed out here.
Yeah.
It bombed. I mean, it made.
I was stunned to hear it was like big in China. I'm like, what the hell? Why would that be big in China?
It barely made 30 million out here, and in China it made like upwards of like 180, 200 million, something like that, with an $80 million budget. So it made its money, 10 times over.
It's the new big in Japan, big in China.
Big in China. If something's big in China, you're good. You don't even need to have it big out here because there's 3 times as many people.
But
there's 1.5 billion people in China and 325.6 million out here.
Think about internationalizing the thing. Like Europe used to do it. It'd be like, they'd have like a French guy, a German guy, and an Italian woman, and whatever country it was in, the poster would have that. But remember in the first Star Wars: The Force Awakens, they got those guys from the raid in it.
Yes.
And they did nothing with those characters.
No, they just want. You know what it is? From what I understand, J.J. Abrams just loved those guys because he loved the raid and he just wanted to have them involved somehow.
Okay, but do something with them.
Yeah, that's true. You have these amazing. Have you seen I've been tagged 5 times just today in this fucking article. That Sleeping Dogs, the video game, is going to be made into a movie with Donnie Yen as the headline.
I did see that. I did saw that. Wow,
that's all my Asian friends have been tagging me because my graphic novel that I'm working on, War Dogs, I was inspired by the Sleeping Dogs video game, which I never completed to my regret because I suck at driving in video games. But that game was so. I mean, everything was cool about it. It's Grand Theft Auto in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
A truncated Hong Kong, but it's got so much style and it's so cool that for them to finally be making this game into a movie with Donnie Yen at the lead, that's really super exciting. For me,
Donnie Yen's a guy. I always think, well, Donnie Yen's just a little too old. And then I look at him, I'm going, well, Donnie Yen's not too old for anything.
Well, he's Asian. Asians always look 10 years younger than they actually are.
And of course, actors always look that. What do? They work what, like 6 months a year, and then they get massages and they have personal trainers. And,
just in general, Asians just age incredibly well. They really do. All my Asian friends look. If they're in their 30s, they look like you would think they're in their 20s or their late teens.
Once they start going, they go down fast.
Yeah,
they go from like 5'5" to like 5'1" in like a month.
There was a joke. There was like a little in joke some friends and I in high school used to say. We used to say that like Asian women are either 18 or 85.
Yeah, somebody on YouTube did that. They were like, guess her age. Like they walk into like a Starbucks and there's an Asian chick sitting there at a thing, and the guy goes, "Wow, she's hot." And his friend goes, "Come on, that's your little girl." And the other guy goes, "She's too old."
Yeah, it's almost like they age when they want to age. You're like, you know what? I'm tired of being young and attractive. Poof, I'm old. They do. Just one minute they're stunning. They have flawless skin and incredible hair that every woman I know wants. And then at some point they're just like, yeah, I'm kind of done with being pretty. Boom. Now I'm this old crone who's like 1,000.
Yeah.
I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
I'm wearing slippers wherever I go.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm always in flip flops. Fuck it. I've always got a bag of oranges with me. Fuck it. I'm old.
I'm doing Tai Chi in the park for like 4 hours a day. And they very rarely get gray until they're like 90. I mean, my friends, some of my friends, their moms are like in their 60s or 70s, and they still have naturally jet black hair. It's crazy.
Sure. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So Asian actors are fortunate in that.